I try not to pay any one person too much attention. It's all feedback and data points for me. I try not to get too emotionally riled up by this. And at a certain point, people want you to do all kinds of things. And it's true. Marty Neumeyer writes about this in his book. It's like corporations used to own brand, but now customers own the brand. Customers tell the brand what it should do. I think there was something with Coors and they were trying some kind of concept, or maybe it's Bud, and it didn't hit their audience. I'm like, we're not going to buy your beer anymore. And we can see that, right? So if a brand doesn't live up to its own values and promises and isn't staying true to its mission, the customers will leave. They will demand, excuse me, they will demand that the brand correct their mistake. So here's the thing. I mean, it's true with people too. It's like there are people who are like, I used to like it when you did this, this, and that. And I respect that. But you know what? As the person who is trying to figure my own way out in my own life, and I do this at my own discretion because it gives me joy. When it feels like a job and I work for you, then you have to pay me a lot of money. And I'm going to promise you, most people can't afford that anyway. So I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And I appreciate you for coming along the ride. And sometimes this is the best kind of message that I get. Chris, used to be a big fan of this show or the channel, and you did X, Y, and Z. It really pissed me off. And I swore I'm not going to come back here. And then just randomly popped up my feed again. I was just like full of like anger, and I watched it. And I have to say, I like the person you've become. And I'm back, baby.
Oh,
and I'm back.
Let's
go.
go.
So here's the thing. It's like we go through different seasons of figuring things out, and we're okay with that. And we ask people to give us grace when we're working through the different seasons. But why is it that you or me as a content creator can't go through our own seasons of figuring things out? And if you're a real fan, you're in it when we're losing, you're in it when we're winning, you're in it when we're making, you're in it when we're not making. That's what it means to be a real fan. So don't come at me and say I'm your real fan and start making all kinds of demands at me. Who entitled you to have those opinions? I mean, I care, but don't I get to do what I want? I'll tell you a little story here. I'm a classically or traditionally trained graphic designer. I learned how to do editorial spreads for magazines and design CD covers, if anybody remembers what they are. I design logos and identity systems. That's what I was trained to do. And people would ask me, Chris, is design art? I'm like, no, it's not art, because artists go into a studio and they do whatever they want and they suffer the consequences because they have no client. They are their own client. So their highest goal is to reflect the world through their eyes and do it the way they want on their own timeline. You and I know, as soon as somebody pays you to do something, there's an obligation and a responsibility that you need to fulfill. And graphic designers can be artistic, but they're not artists in the way that artists are artists, right? Okay. So for a long time, I needed to set the record straight. I am not an artist. I'm a designer. I solve people's problems. Cool. And then I make YouTube videos. And then people are like, are you an artist? And I say to them, under my own definition, hell yes, I'm an artist. I make these things on my own schedule. No one tells me what to do. I just make whatever I want to make at whatever cadence I want to make it. And I suffer the consequences. I'm foregoing high-paying corporate client work so I get to do this. Just so happens that my studio is the web. It's YouTube. And my canvas are the pixels that are being beamed to your eyes right now. And the strokes are the words that I choose to say and the tone of voice that I come at you. And sometimes the humor or the acerbic comments that I make. That is my art. And so when you become a fan of my art, then you have to say, let the artist do what they want. Because otherwise, it's a commercial endeavor and I'm not an artist anymore. Now, I'm not trying to equate what I'm doing with people who like sit there and sculpt and paint, but it is a form of art. It's a form of my own self-expression.
That's good. That's so good. So it's kind of like, yo, if you want to pay me, right?
Yeah.
Then we could definitely talk about making some changes to this show, right?
You'll do career development. It has to have a couple of zeros on that.
Yeah.
But you'll do career development.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We could talk about it, right? I remember in the conversation, I had Chris Gronkowski on the show, former Cowboy, brother of Rob Gronkowski, the Super Bowl champ, and all of that. Anyway, we had him on the show, and the fan was like, "What did that have to do with careers?" And I'm like, "Nothing." Like, I wanted to have Chris Gronkowski on the show. I'm a Cowboy fan. He's former Cowboy, and anyways, like not a lot. It was just something I wanted to do. And I pay for the studio and I pay for the production, and it's something that I love to do. So yeah. So I love what you're saying. Like, there's the difference. I love how you explain the difference between an artist and a designer. A designer is getting paid to solve the problems and to create a certain product at the end of the day for the consumer. And your artist is, they're doing it for themselves, you know.
Yeah.
But talk to me about, okay,
Can I give you one more
yeah,
example,
yeah,
just
yeah, go for it.
to drive this point home?
Sure.
In case people are like, art design, oh, it's so esoteric. I don't know what the heck you guys are talking about. I'll say it this way. Let's say you're an architect and a client hires you. You get to put as much artistry into it, but if you build them or design them a home that they don't like, you're not going to have many clients and you might have a lawsuit on your hands. But some architects say, I have a vision for a house that I want to build, and they become developers. They invest their own money, put a lot at risk, have a vision for the kind of home that they want to build for a very specific type of person. And if they make the right decisions, they make a lot of money. If they make the wrong decisions, they lose a lot of money and they don't get to play again. So there's the same problem again. The architect works for money. The developer wants to shape the world in a very specific way. And if they do a good job, then they make a lot of money. So you're a writer and you write for a magazine. They pay you and you're a freelance writer. If they don't like it, they want to change it, so be it. But if you're a poet, if you write your own screenplays and you don't care about the financial consequences, you're an artist again. So as many parallels as I can make, think about where you are and have a sober conversation with yourself. Don't live in this kind of idyllic world where you romanticize everything. That's all.